In part one of this module, we'll be discussing free will and determinism in Macbeth towards an answer to the question of Macbeth's responsibility in the play. So we can define free will as human ability to make their own decisions without the influence of fate or some other imposing authority. Essentially what this means is that our choices are our own, and the things that we choose are our responsibility. The idea that we have full and total free will is perhaps misleading, and if we spent just a little while thinking about what constrains our free will, we might be able to say, well, society, expectations from our peers and parents, our morals and our virtues, all of these things. But the idea with free will is that we nonetheless have decisions to make in those moments. And though there are certainly things that we can't do, anything that we can do is a result of our own desire and decision towards it, so that there's no greater agency, fate, God, the supernatural, that is commanding us to act a certain way. We get to choose how we want to act. And even if there are things that are outside of our control, we nonetheless have freedom of choice within our own sphere of influence. Determinism is almost the opposite of free will. It's the idea that everything that we do is ultimately determined by causes external to our will, which is to say that our decisions in some way or the majority of them are affected by things outside of our control. So you could think about that in a couple ways. A very harsh level of determinism would suggest that you and I are merely puppets on a string, that we're being guided by things totally outside of our control, by fate or by God, or something that is similarly impersonal. Another idea of this would be it's sort of like when you're hungry and you're driving down the road late at night and you can stop at McDonald's or Burger King, and you have only two options. And the reason that you have those two options has nothing to do with your own decision or your own free will. Those are the two things that are there before you. They've been created long before you, and they serve purposes other than your own purposes, and you can choose between the two of them. One of the ways I think that's helpful to think about this is this idea of chaos theory or the butterfly effect. Maybe you're more familiar with the butterfly effect, which is this idea that everything is interconnected and related. So a butterfly flaps its wings in Nigeria, and 2 years later we get a snowstorm in Cleveland, but those two events are linked. And so here's how we tend to think about our decision making. We often think about our decisions as we're standing on a road and we're looking down the path, and you and I are deciding how we want to go about that path. But chaos theory suggests that it's far more complicated than that we stand on an almost infinite horizon of possibilities, and that each new decision creates a similarly infinite horizon of possibilities. So that you end up with something that is very interconnected and webbed. Our decisions in the middle, but sprouting out all these other possibilities of things that you and I could have done. Think about this in terms of colleges that you're looking at right now. You're deciding on a number of different schools. Any of those decisions would lead you to more decisions and more decisions and more decisions, compacted and compacted and compacted, until you finally arrive at the path that you yourself will take. And what chaos theory suggests is that all of our decision making is interconnected. Even decisions that we haven't made but that other people have made, they affect us significantly. The scary thing about this is that sometimes those decisions seem relatively arbitrary, as though we could flip a coin and decide to go one way or the other. And if our decisions are arbitrary, then this seems to suggest some mode of chaos and of randomness in our life, that we aren't fully in control of the things that are happening to us.